This month at Upward, we are putting special emphasis on physical exercise, so I want to share with you a very summarized story of my life as an athlete. When I was 14 years old, I completed the 21 kilometers race of the most important running competition in my city, Medellin, Colombia. I finished with a time of around 1 hour and 53 minutes. My father taught us to be very disciplined, waking us up very early in the mornings and taking us out to run as a routine, probably most days of the week for several years. I had already participated in many running competitions at 11, 12 and 13 years old, but at that time it was more of a hobby than a real ambition to become an athlete. I think discipline and good health were the most important gifts my father wanted to give us. I continued being very active physically as a teenager and young adult, but I eventually stopped running and dedicated myself completely to playing and training in football. One particular thing about me was that I was always very thin. All my life I weighed way less than expected for my age. My mother tried everything, but it was a big challenge. Nevertheless, being so thin didn't stop me from standing out in sports during my teenage years. In sprinting, I was often the fastest among my peers, and most of the time I felt, and my classmates agreed, that I was the best football player in my class. I say this not in a boastful way, but simply because my classmates usually recognized it, and I often became the captain of my teams because of it. Of course, as a young adult, things changed. I played with the stronger and more talented football players, and faster athletes came along from time to time. After suffering serious knee injuries, I dedicated less time to playing football. However, gym work, which I had started around 17 years old, became my main physical activity. I would work out in an open park, using concrete weights and doing many exercises with my own body weight, building a habit of training 4 to 6 days a week, usually for almost 2 hours per session. Even during my PhD, when I got married and was working on very important projects in my professional career, I maintained a consistent habit of working out at least 3 times a week. Together with other important habits like drinking enough water, getting proper rest and a healthy vegetarian diet, physical exercise was key to standing strong and a successful scientific researcher, college teacher, and in finishing my PhD with impressive results. If we want to have well-balanced minds, we need to use and develop all the powers of our being. Time spent on physical exercise is never wasted. A student who is always buried in books but barely gets any fresh air and movement is actually harming themselves. All parts of our body, the different organs and faculties, need balanced exercise for each one to work at its best. When the brain is always working hard but the rest of the body is inactive, both physical and mental strength start to fade. The body loses its healthy tone, the mind loses its freshness and energy, and what you are left with is an unhealthy kind of nervousness. I thank God for giving me the knowledge of such simple and basic principles of health, principles that lead us to happiness and fullness, and that helped me to decide to dedicate my life to serving God and humanity. God calls us to reason from cause to effect, to remember that we belong to Him, and to work with Him in keeping our bodies pure, healthy, and our whole lives dedicated to Him.